Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Milana and I make book videos. Reading just brings me so much joy. However, those of you who have been watching my videos previously have probably noticed I have not made a video in quite a few months. Life has got the best of me, and during the holiday season I went to go visit my family in my hometown, and I really just wanted to be offline and spend time with my family. I had a really difficult year last year and I'm getting back into it. I started reading again in December more regularly and had a really good time. However, I am still feeling a little bit out of sorts when it comes to my reading routine, and I'm excited to get back into it. I am back in my place of residence in Montreal, and I just got back here 2 days ago, so I wanted to film a vlog for the next few days of just getting back into reading, organizing my bookshelf because it's a bit of a disaster. I'm gonna do a book haul. I have a stack of books in front of me from holidays that I've been gifted or I have purchased because I have no self-control during the holidays when it comes to book buying. I allow myself that pleasure during the holiday seasons. I know some of you guys joined in on my channel after Valentina over here on YouTube gave me a shout out in one of her videos and had recommended my channel. I just want to send out a big thank you. I know it's a little bit delayed. I have thanked her personally at that time, but if you haven't checked out Valentina's channel, you should definitely check her out, especially if you enjoy classics. She has such wide taste in classic books and just such a great analytical perspective when reading, and also a student, and so she talks about some of the things that she's researching and finding interesting at that time, and I really like checking in with her content as well to just see what she's been up to. A lot of the characters I feel like she reads from are like morally gray and just really interesting to decipher, so I really trust her book taste because she does read a lot of challenging classics as well, which honestly motivates me every time I watch her videos, because one of my biggest goals this year, actually practically my reading goal this year, is to actually just read from a list of books that I've jotted down that are books that intimidate me or books that have been highly anticipated for me for a long time that I've just been intimidated by and have put on the back burner. So this year's goal is really to make it through that list of books and not particularly reach a reading goal number. But I will make a video on my 2025 reading goals separate from this and dive more into that kind of stuff. But for now, I just want to have a fun reading reset week and get back into it. In reading, I actually decided to bring back my book club over on Fable. Also, I'm wondering what your opinions are on Fable and their recent AI controversy. If you guys have seen that, or if you haven't, there's a lot of information on it on TikTok if you just look it up. So many people have discussed their thoughts, and also Fable has made a statement about it. Essentially, they have this AI software that gives you like a little reader's profile, and it has put forth some very prejudiced texts on people's Fable profiles, and some of them are honestly kind of shocking that obviously they've mishandled how they've trained this AI, and so they decided after getting the opinions of users that they would take down the AI software function on Fable, which I really appreciated that they were proactive and took it off. I don't think the issue should have happened in the first place, so I'm still feeling iffy about that. However, I do really like the book club function on Fable, so I think for now, because they did make the decision to rectify the problem and get rid of it and have apologized and been proactive, I still will continue to host the book club on Fable, but if I'm always open to changing my mind. I just want to be proactive and really think about the situation from all perspectives and see if I need to move my book club elsewhere. But for now, it's back online on Fable. We decided to read Intermezzo by Sally Rooney this month. I thought it would be a fun intro into the year, and I have split up the book club into 6 books in the year instead of 12, so Intermezzo will be for January and February. If you've been wanting to read Intermezzo in a group of people, I will put the link down below in the description for you guys to join if you'd like. I have not gotten started on the book club book, so that is a huge priority for me. That's probably what I'm going to start on tonight. But in terms of reading updates, I started one book towards the end of December that I've really been enjoying, and that is Great Granny Webster by Caroline Blackwood. I just got this as a Christmas gift, so this is part of my haul, and I guess we're leading into the haul right now. Let me show you the stack of books, a little sneak peek of what I picked up during my trip. But this was on my wish list because I've been wanting to collect the NYRB published books. I love their alternative covers. I love their selection of books. I always find a lot of the descriptions really interesting. However, I still have not fully finished one of their books, so my opinion is very based off of assumptions on how I'm going to feel about their books. Also, just like as a visual artist, I just love the covers. I've got 2 more NYRB editions that I'll talk about, and you'll see some of the other covers, but I love this one as well, and I love the contrasting colors in the title page and the back and the spine. I just love it as a design choice. Maybe I'm being biased because of the design, but also a lot of creators that I follow whose tastes I really trust really vouch for the NYRB books, and so I really feel like I'm going to love these, and I am really loving this so far. It's a gothic story about a young girl who was dealing with an illness, and during that time her mother thought it would be healthy for her to go visit with her great-grandmother by the sea because the sea air and the sea in general would be great for her health. And her great granny Webster is who she ends up staying with, and she is just this lonely old lady who hates modern society and hides out in her giant home, and she's just this shell of a human that once was. And so it's interesting to see their relationship unfold in this, or sort of a relationship. There really isn't much of one so far. I'm only about 20 pages into the story so far, but I just love how sassy and just morbid her great-grandmother is. There's also this mystery behind our main character's grandmother, so the great Granny Webster's daughter, who's never really spoken about. So it's going to be interesting to uncover maybe what happened there, but it's just really funny. A lot of dark humor, and I just love the gothic undertones and atmosphere of it all. I'm a big fan of gothic elements in stories, so I'm really enjoying this, and it's a nice short read too, so it's a good one to get back into reading again regularly. And yeah, so that's kind of where I left off with reading. I also have, probably from last year, around 10 books that are partially read, which is really frustrating to think about. And so I'm not even going to talk about them. One of them that I for sure will be finishing is Jane Eyre, which is right here, which I was actually really enjoying before I really got into my reading rut. But all the other ones I'll get to eventually, and I'm not really too worried about. The next book that I picked up was The Post Office Girl by Stefan Zweig, and I've heard so many great things about this book, and just Stefan Zweig in general. A lot of people really enjoy his stories, and it just sounds very entertaining. On the back it says Cinderella meets Bonnie and Clyde in a haunting hard as nails novel completed during the 1930s, as the author was driven by the Nazis into exile but left unpublished at the time of his death. I don't know if this is the best book to start off when reading his novels, but it's been recommended over and over again by people that I really trust, so I'm really excited to read this. Another book that I picked up based off of a recommendation was, I was actually just watching Melissa over here on YouTube, and I was first introduced to her over on TikTok, and I absolutely love her videos. She's a Korean book talk creator, and she also talks a lot about skincare as well and different lifestyle things, perfumes as well. And I just find her taste so interesting, and it seems like a lot of the themes that she reads in books and likes in the books that she reads are ones that I'm interested in. So I was watching her favorite books of 2024, and I saw that she read Honey John by Jamaica Kincaid, and just really raved about Jamaica Kincaid's writing in general. And after she talked about the premise of the novel, it's very much a coming of age novel in Antigua, and it just sounded right up my alley of books that I just really connect to. So I saw this at a used bookstore actually, and it was an automatic buy for me. So I'm so excited to read this. And also, if you've never watched Melissa's videos, she has great recommendations and just great analyses of books she reads and great reviews. So I would highly recommend checking her videos out. But yeah, this is a recommendation from her. Then I picked up this book mainly because I saw a quote. I cannot remember what the quote was. I have it somewhere saved on my phone. A quote from an essay by Toni Morrison, and this book has that essay in it. And after doing some research, I realized I just really wanted a book of essays by Toni Morrison. I wanted to dive more into her thoughts on life in general and all the different topics she covers. There's so many essays in here. It's quite a long book, so it's something that I can read from time to time. And I think it was from her lecture on the power of language. I think that's what it was, where the quote was from that I was just like blown away by. And I have read The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison last year, and she's just one of my favorite all-time authors, just based off of just reading one of her books. And I have quite a few of them, and I plan on reading several this year, so I'm just really excited to dive into her nonfiction works as well. And I'm so glad I was able to pick this up. I know this book in particular has a different name. I think in the UK edition, I could be wrong, or it's the US edition. So it was kind of hard to find because when I had looked it up, it had a different name, but luckily the bookseller pointed me in the direction of this one, and it ended up having the exact same essays inside of it. So I think it's just titled differently, but just in case you were looking at getting this book in Canada, this is what it's titled. Then I have another NYRB. This is the last one that I picked up, and I saw this recommended a few times, and it's Notes of a Crocodile, and this takes place in Taipei, and it's a coming-of-age story, and it's queer, and there's nothing I love more than collecting more queer novels. I just always tend to rate them really high. I never had a bad time reading a queer novel, unless it's been A Little Life, which has traumatized me forever. But yeah, I'm just a big fan of queer literature. So it takes place in post-martial law era of late 1980s Taipei, and it's a coming-of-age story of queer misfits discovering love, friendship, and artistic affinity while hardly studying at Taiwan's most prestigious university. This one, honestly, out of all of the NYRB novels, I am the most excited by. It is also so insanely beautiful. I love the red ribbons around the crocodiles, and just the pop of yellow in the background it's just so beautiful. But I am very excited to get to this. Then we've got another book I picked up used, and it's like, it looks brand new, genuinely, and to be fair, it just came out last year, so I don't think the person who owned it had it for very long. But it's All Fours by Miranda July, and everyone's raved about this novel last year, and so I'm very excited to own it and finally read it. This one seems like it's gonna be a fun one to get into. Essentially, we're following a semi-famous artist who announces their plan to drive across country from Los Angeles to New York. 30 minutes after leaving her husband and child at home, she spontaneously exits the freeway, checks into a nondescript motel, and immerses herself in an entirely different journey. It sounds like it has some comedic undertones in it, and it sounds like this character is just going on some sort of identity journey. I don't know too much outside of the beginning of the premise because I'm trying not to spoil it too much for myself, but it's gifted River East, River West, which I believe is a family saga. Yep. Place in Shanghai. And I think, yes, it follows two different timelines, one in 2007 and one in 1985. And I'm assuming they are related, but it's set against the backdrop of developing modern China, and it's a coming of age, part family, part social drama, as it follows two generations searching for belonging and opportunity in a rapidly changing world. Love a saga, love, especially when it takes place in a part of the world where I don't know enough about, because I feel like I'm getting so much more immersed into that culture and learning about the struggles that people deal with from those places and during those timelines too, because we've got two completely different timelines. We've got 2007, 1985, so I'm sure the things that they were going through generationally was much different from each other. But this was my TBR for quite some time, and I did hear great things about it. And because it was on my wish list, I let my family kind of randomly pick from there when they gift me books. So I was really excited to receive this, and I'm excited to get to it hopefully this year. Come to the last physical book that I was gifted, and this was a gift from my partner, and it was Intermezzo by Sally Rooney, which we are reading for the book club. I am so excited to get to this today. I really want to dive into reading as much as I possibly can. I think to start, I am going to read in the evenings and hopefully build the habit back up. But I'm so excited to read this when I know it involves grief, and we are following male main characters, which is really interesting and a little different for Sally Rooney. But I've heard this is different than all her other books and takes a different kind of approach, and I'm open to that. I love to see authors try something new and dive into something different. So I am really excited to read this and get into this today. I also picked up 4 books on my e-reader during the days before Christmas sale that they had on Kobo. Also, I have some stuff to read on there as well, which I love to read off of that thing in the evenings. But anyway, enough blabbering. Let's get on with the vlog. Hello everyone. I wanted to give you guys a quick update on how Intermezzo is going. So I started it last night and very quickly realized that my brain is so fried. So at the beginning of the year, I caught the flu, and during that time, all I did was watch Lost and doom scroll through TikTok, and my attention span just doesn't exist. I honestly am wondering how I work every day, because when I went to try to focus on reading this last night, nothing was computing. We're following a story of 2 brothers whose, I'm assuming, father passes away. We're following Ivan and Peter. Ivan's known as the brains and is apparently a little bit odd, not the most attractive individual, at least from his brother's perspective, Peter. And Peter is more known as a beauty, essentially, and following from his perspective at the beginning of the book. I only got about 13 pages in, so we're just getting to know Peter and his dynamic with Ivan and their mother as well, and Peter's strange relationship with a female in his life. I'm not quite sure I understand the relationship so far. It seems like they're friends with benefits, because that's what I'm getting from it, and that's as far as we've gotten in the novel. I feel like you're getting really info dumped in terms of like the character's life and what they're doing, and I don't really I feel like a chicken with my head cut off, essentially. And it also doesn't help that my attention span is absolutely demolished right now. So I think my goal for this weekend, because it is Friday right now, is to fix my attention span. We're going on a dopamine detox, no TikTok, try to stay off of just the media in general and just spend the weekend present. I do have a lot of things to catch up on because I've only been back in the city for a couple of days. So I just managed, as you guys saw, to go to the farmer's market this morning, which was fantastic, but also exhausting, just lugging everything back in the snow. I'm not sure how I feel about this yet. It's very different than her previous books. But then again, I've read 13 pages, so yeah, I can't really have an opinion on it yet.
I just filmed a video of my 2025 reading goals, and the aftermath is a disaster. So I'm gonna take all these books, I'm freeing up the shelf here, and I'm going to dedicate a whole own shelf for these books and very easily be able to pick through them as I'm picking my next book to read. So I'm really excited. I didn't even really think of that until I took them all off the shelf for the video. Here is the giant pile. I have been making my way through Intermezzo. I am more than halfway through. This is what I have left. It's taken me a little bit of time to pick up my reading pace after not reading for a long time and being in a reading slump. But I did actually finish a book that I was reading outside of this, and it was a book for work, which wasn't as fun, but it was still very informative for just developing my career, and that's great. The book was Founder and the Force Multiplier. It's a nonfiction book, and it involves pretty much a guide on the relationship between a founder of a company and their executive assistant. Essentially the partnership between the person who founds a company and creates all these ideas and the executive assistant who puts those things really in motion and manages the life of the founder and amplifies what the founder's goals and intentions are with their company, which is great. It was very, very informative. I'm glad I finally finished it. I had a lot of notes. I was constantly highlighting in it, but it didn't necessarily get me out of my reading slump, but at least I read a book this year so far, which is great. To give you guys an update on Intermezzo, I am enjoying it. I'm not sure exactly how I feel in terms of comparing it to Sally Rooney's other books, all of which I've read except for her one short story. This one's the longest too. It's over 400 pages, I think. 437 pages, so it's quite long. I think I'm just waiting for more to happen or for things to reveal themselves or become less closed off, but I am enjoying it. So essentially we're following, as I said, Peter and Ivan, two brothers who are dealing with grief after their father's passing, and we also get into the relationship dynamics each of the brothers have with partners that they have in their lives, which is really interesting because they're similar in some ways and drastically different, and they're parallel too in some ways. That's really an interesting examination into each other's relationships. But I find the relationship with Peter and Ivan so incredibly frustrating. Both of them have this skewed view of each other, and that's, I think, the most interesting part of this novel is just reading from each of their perspectives chapter to chapter and seeing how their thoughts about each other are so ridiculously wrong and how you can't make assumptions about each other if you don't have any communication in your relationship with each other. And there's so many moments that are like, oh, this is a classic younger and older sibling drama or dynamic throughout the book, which is very entertaining. But yeah, I'm very, very frustrated with their relationship. I cannot wait until there's some sort of point in their relationship that forces them to confront each other in a positive way. But it's a very interesting exploration of this because they're navigating these difficulties in their relationship, but they're also navigating their own grief with their father's death and their experiences with their father and their relationship with their father that are both drastically different, and also their family dynamics with their mother too. It's been an interesting read so far. I am definitely out of my reading slump though, which is great because I ended up starting another book. I wanted to continue into some nonfiction again, not anything surrounding work. I started Notes of a Native Man by James Baldwin for Black History Month, and I've wanted to read it for quite some time, but I wanted to read Giovanni's Room first, which I did last year. But yeah, I am excited to finally finish this book. I'm hoping things wrap up more towards the end, and I don't really know what to expect, but I really love being in the psyche of Sally Rooney's characters because you have to have empathy for them in a way. My feelings are always so complicated with the characters, but they're also so relatable, and you can always spot a person you've met before in her characters, or you can find elements of yourself in the characters as well, which I really enjoy from her writing. But I will continue reading and hopefully I finish tomorrow, and then I will leave Notes of a Native Son as the start of my next vlog.